Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, let's be honest. How many times just last week did you say yes to something when, every fiber of your being screamed no?
Hmm.
Maybe you took on that extra project, agreed to do that favor you didn't have time for, or just got stuck in a conversation way, way too long.
Yeah, that sounds familiar for a lot of us.
Well, today we're diving deep into something that, when ignored, can really poison relationships and just drain your well-being. Resentment. And the antidote, it's boundaries.
That's exactly right. And our mission today isn't just to, talk vaguely about putting up walls. We want to really distill what a boundary actually
To
is.
pass the fluff.
Exactly. Move past the generic advice. We're going to look at 8 specific types of boundaries that show up in our lives. And critically, understand the why. Why do we struggle so much? Especially when, deeper psychological stuff like attachment styles gets involved.
Then get practical.
And then arm you with actual practical steps for communicating and, maybe the hardest part, enforcing those limits.
Okay, so let's start there. What exactly are boundaries? Based on the sources. It's not just about defense, right?
No, not just defense. Think of them as foundational limits. They're the rules, spoken or unspoken, that define what behaviors are acceptable and, crucially, unacceptable from other people.
So they create clarity.
They create clarity, and they're the ultimate tool for finding balance. It's that sweet spot between meeting your own needs and respecting the needs of others around you.
And when they work?
When boundaries are respected, you feel valued.
Yeah.
And importantly, they stop that slow, simmering resentment before it even starts.
Okay, so let's talk about the warning signs. How do you know if your boundaries are, well, basically non-existent or just really weak? What are those internal red flags?
Well, the biggest indicators are usually feelings. That sense of being constantly overwhelmed, maybe exhausted, or, and this is the big one, feeling taken advantage of.
That resonates.
If you find yourself consistently saying yes to things that genuinely make you uncomfortable or stressed out, or if you notice you're getting into frequent conflicts, maybe snapping over little things, that's often a sign of poor limits. It's like a quiet buildup of pressure.
Yeah, that moment when you realize you're doing something you totally resent doing and you kind of look back and think, ugh, why did I agree to this yesterday?
Exactly that. That feeling of being trapped or maybe even feeling manipulated, that's a huge red flag. It signals you need to reassess.
And the danger is real, isn't it? It's not just discomfort.
Oh, absolutely. The consequence of having really porous boundaries is this slow erosion of your own voice. You can actually start losing parts of your identity within relationships because you're constantly deferring or being overridden.
You basically teach people your limits don't matter.
You do. When you allow constant violations, that's the message you send.
But let's flip it. The sources talk about this massive empowerment shift when you do set healthy boundaries. They list, like, 7 huge benefits. Number 4, though reduced conflict that one feels counterintuitive. How does telling people no actually stop arguments?
It seems backwards, doesn't it? But it works because most conflict actually bubbles up from mismatched, unspoken expectations.
Ah, okay.
When you set a clear boundary, you eliminate ambiguity. So if you say, look, I can only handle work emails between 9 and 5, there's no confusion, no simmering resentment when you don't reply at 8 p.m.
Right, the expectation is set.
Exactly. That clarity cuts down on the resentment, which is usually the real fuel behind passive-aggressive jabs or blow-ups.
Okay, I can see that. And beyond less fighting, what else? Improved self-esteem is a big one, right? Because you're showing yourself you value your needs.
Absolutely. And that directly feeds into better mental health. When you protect your emotional energy, you actively reduce stress, anxiety, that feeling of being constantly drained.
Makes sense.
And maybe most importantly, your relationships become healthier. They shift from being based on obligation or guilt to being founded on mutual respect and trust.
And you feel more in control.
Yes, greater empowerment. You're taking charge of your life, not just reacting to everyone else's demands. Which, by the way, often leads to increased productivity because you manage your time better.
Okay, and the last one. Number 7.
Emotional safety. When you curate your interactions to be respectful, you create a space where you can actually forge deeper, more meaningful connections because you feel safe doing so.
All right, so to actually set these beneficial limits, we need to get specific. The sources break boundaries down into 8 distinct types. Why is that classification important?
It's important because a boundary around your physical space is fundamentally different from a boundary around your beliefs or your money. You need different approaches. Understanding the types helps you identify exactly where you feel violated and what kind of limit you need to set.
Okay, let's unpack them, starting with maybe the most obvious one, physical boundaries.
Right. This relates to your personal space, your body, physical touch. It could be saying, actually, I'm not really a hugger, especially at work.
Mhm.
Or deciding who gets to come into your private space, like your bedroom or even your home office.
Or just needing space after being around people.
Exactly. Asking for time alone after a big social event because you need to recharge your batteries, that's a physical boundary.
Okay, then we get into the less tangible ones, which can be trickier. Emotional boundaries.
These are crucial. It's about separating your own emotions from the emotions of others. It means consciously deciding not to absorb someone else's stress or sadness as your own.
So, empathy without enmeshment.
Precisely. It's saying internally, I can hear you're upset and I care, but I cannot carry this emotional weight for you. It protects you from getting swamped by other people's feelings.
Next up, mental boundaries. Protecting your thoughts, beliefs.
Yeah, your intellectual space. This means feeling okay expressing an opinion even if others disagree. I see it differently and that's all right. Or, importantly, refusing to be drawn into conversations where someone is trying to manipulate you or gaslight you into doubting your own thoughts or reality.
Okay, time boundaries. This feels like a big one for modern life.
Huge. This is about protecting your schedule, your availability. It's learning to say a firm no to commitments that will stretch you too thin.
Like setting work hours.
Setting specific times for checking email versus doing deep work, yeah. Or even prioritizing your personal downtime over constant external demands. It could even mean putting a time limit on difficult conversations or arguments.
Good one. Okay, back to tangible things. Material and financial boundaries. Stuff and money.
Yes. This covers your belongings and your finances. It could be setting clear limits on lending money. Maybe you have a policy never to lend, or only up to a certain amount,
Or getting your stuff back?
or getting your stuff back. Clarifying expectations for borrowing things, like that favorite sweater or a tool, and when you expect it returned, and in what condition. Saying no to requests that would cause you financial strain.
Makes sense. Now, a very modern one, digital boundaries.
Absolutely essential now. This focuses on your online presence, how you interact digitally. It could be setting limits on how quickly you're expected to respond to texts or emails, especially outside of work hours.
Or social media stuff.
Yeah, establishing privacy settings, deciding who can tag you, or maybe requesting that people don't post photos of you without asking first. It's about managing how accessible you are online.
Okay. Next, sexual boundaries. Crucial for intimacy.
Absolutely critical. These define your comfort levels around all aspects of sexual activity and intimacy. It requires crystal clear communication about needs, desires, and limits. Establishing enthusiastic consent for every interaction is key, as is discussing things like frequency or timing comfortably. It has to be built on mutual respect.
And finally, number 8, spiritual boundaries.
Right. This involves protecting your personal beliefs and values, whether they relate to organized religion, spirituality, or your core philosophy of life. It means feeling free to practice your beliefs without pressure to conform, or being able to set limits if conversations about religion or spirituality make you uncomfortable or feel aggressive. It protects your inner world.
Okay, understanding the types is helpful. But let's get into the why. Why is setting and keeping these boundaries so incredibly hard for so many of us? We often know we need them,
Yeah.
but we just don't do it. Or we fail spectacularly.
Yeah, it's a common struggle.
Yeah.
And a lot of the research points back to our earliest relationships, specifically our attachment styles. These patterns, formed way back in childhood with our caregivers, kind of create a template for how we navigate closeness and distance in our adult relationships.
So, how we learn to connect as kids dictates how we handle boundaries now.
In large part, yes. Insecure attachment styles, especially, seem to directly influence our default reactions, both to setting boundaries ourselves and reacting when others set them with us. Our gut reactions often override our logical desire for healthy limits.
Okay, so how does that play out? The sources mention 3 specific patterns linked to insecure attachment.
Right. First, there's disorganized attachment. This often stems from chaotic or frightening early experiences. People with this style tend to both crave and fear intimacy intensely.
So a real push-pull.
Exactly. And the sources suggest they often have the lowest threshold for feeling intruded upon physically, minimal tolerance for physical closeness because that fear of intimacy is so strong. They might react quite strongly, even aggressively, to perceived intrusions.
Wow, that sounds like constantly walking on eggshells around space.
Yes, it can feel that way. Now, contrast that with anxious attachment. These individuals typically have a deep-seated fear of abandonment or distance. That anxiety makes them, ironically, quite prone to violating others' boundaries.
Yeah.
They might need constant reassurance, which can look like excessive texting if a partner doesn't reply immediately. Or maybe that electronic intrusion, checking a partner's phone or social media constantly.
They intrude to soothe their own fear of being left.
Precisely. But here's the other side. Because their fear of abandonment is so powerful, they're also very likely to quickly forgive or minimize boundary violations against them. They might let things slide just to keep the person close, which unfortunately teaches the other person that their limits aren't firm.
Wow. Okay, and the third style, avoidant attachment.
Avoidant attachment is sort of the opposite of anxious. These individuals are highly sensitive to feeling controlled or intruded upon, even if the intrusion isn't objectively huge.
They value their independence highly.
Extremely. So their go-to response when they feel a boundary is being tested or crossed is to distance themselves, physically pull away, or emotionally shut down, think ghosting, or just becoming very withdrawn.
But they don't necessarily speak up.
Often, no. They're less likely to react with anger or have a direct conversation to enforce the boundary. They just disappear or check out emotionally. And while that avoids immediate conflict, it actually undermines their own goal of maintaining space because the issue isn't resolved. It leads to this cycle of feeling suffocated, retreating, things feeling okay for a bit, then feeling suffocated again.
So understanding your attachment style is almost like step zero. Realizing how your past programming might be tripping you up now.
Absolutely. That awareness of your own psychological wiring, those deep-seated fears and reactions, is fundamental to being able to choose a different, healthier response.
Okay, let's shift to the how-to. We know why it's hard, we know the types. Now, the practical action plan. Step one, according to the sources, starts internally. Self-awareness.
Yes, you can't set a boundary if you don't know where your limits are. This means taking some time for reflection. Pay attention to what situations or interactions consistently leave you feeling uncomfortable, stressed, resentful, or drained.
And connecting that to your values.
Exactly. What do you truly value? If you value, say, punctuality and respecting others' time, then you need to be able to set clear time boundaries with people who are chronically late. Knowing your why fuels the what.
Got it. So once you've identified your limit, step two is clear communication.
Right. And the key here is to be assertive, but also respectful. Shouting or being passive-aggressive usually backfires.
So how do you phrase it?
Use I statements. Focus on your feelings and needs, not on blaming the other person. So instead of saying, "You're always barging into my room," which is accusatory, try something like, "I feel distracted and disrespected when you come into my room without knocking. I need you to please knock before entering." It's clear, specific, and less likely to provoke defensiveness.
And sometimes less is more. That idea that no is a complete sentence.
Absolutely. You don't always owe a lengthy explanation or justification. For simpler requests, a clear, kind no or "I can't do that right now" is perfectly sufficient. Clarity is kindness, remember.
Okay, but what about those really tricky, high-stakes conversations? Say, setting a boundary with a boss or a close family member, or that colleague who subtly keeps pushing their work onto you. Is there a more structured approach for that?
Yes, definitely. For those more complex situations, there's a really helpful framework that comes out of therapeutic approaches like DBT. It's called the Dear Man technique.
Dear man. Okay, break that down for us.
Sure, it's an acronym. D is for describe. State the facts of the situation objectively, without judgment. So, using your colleague example, I've noticed that for the last 3 projects, the X task ended up on my plate, even though the initial plan assigned it to you. Just the fact.
Okay, no blame yet, then E.
E is express. State your feelings clearly using I statements.
No.
When this happens, I feel overwhelmed and frustrated because it impacts my ability to meet my own deadlines.
Got it. DEA.
A is assert needs. Clearly state what you need to happen. This is your boundary. Moving forward, I need us to stick to the original task assignments. If you need help or need to reassign something, please discuss it with our manager first. Be specific about the change you want.
Okay, describe, express, assert. What's the R?
R is reinforce. This is often missed, but it's important. Explain the positive consequences of respecting the boundary, ideally for the relationship or the shared goal. If we both stick to our assigned roles, it'll help our whole team stay on track and probably reduce stress for both of us.
And the man part.
Ah, yes. Man is about how you deliver it. Stay mindful, don't get derailed, appear confident even if you're nervous, and be willing to negotiate. Be firm on your core need, but maybe flexible on smaller details if appropriate.
That's a really solid framework. Okay, so you've communicated clearly. Now comes the hard part. Step 3, enforcing boundaries through action. This feels like the make or break moment.
It really is. Communication is just the first part. Enforcement is the follow-through, and it's what makes a boundary real, not just a suggestion or a wish.
And the key distinction is,
Enforcement is an action you take for yourself to protect your limit.
yeah.
It is not about punishing the other person. That's a crucial mindset shift. And consistency here is everything.
Can you give some concrete examples of what that enforcement action looks like?
Sure. Let's say your boundary is, I won't participate in conversations where I'm being yelled at or called names. You've communicated this. If the person starts yelling again,
Mm-hmm.
the enforcement action you take for yourself is to calmly say, I'm not going to continue this conversation while you're yelling. I'm going to hang up. Now leave the room. And then you do it.
You protect yourself by removing yourself.
Exactly. Or take the chronically late friend. You said, my time is important. I can wait 15 minutes. If they're later than that,
You leave.
you leave. You might send a text saying, sorry, I missed you. Had to get going.
Hmm.
You are respecting your own time boundary. You're not trying to teach them a lesson. You're honoring your own needs.
And the sources really stress only stating consequences you're actually prepared to follow through on. No empty threats.
Critically important, if you say, if you lie to me about money again, we'll need to separate our finances, and it happens again, you must be prepared to take that step. Otherwise, your boundary loses all credibility.
You teach them that your words don't mean anything.
Exactly. That follow-through is what reinforces the boundary, not just to the other person, but also to yourself. It builds self-trust. #outro.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive really underscores how fundamental healthy boundaries are. They're not selfish. They're essential for well-being across the board, intimate relationships, family, work, friendships. And understanding those 8 types, from physical and time to digital and emotional, gives us the language to actually name what we need.
It really does. And maybe the final crucial piece to remember, connecting this all together, is that boundaries aren't static. They're not set in stone once and forgotten. Life changes, right?
Uh-huh.
You get a new job with different demands. You enter a new relationship. You have a child. Major life events often force us to reevaluate and adjust our boundaries.
Yeah.
How we manage our time, our energy, our space, it all shifts.
So they need ongoing maintenance.
Ongoing maintenance and awareness. Recognizing that boundaries need to evolve, and then communicating and respecting those shifting boundaries, both our own and others. That's really the key to continuous growth and keeping relationships healthy and satisfying long-term.
So perhaps the thought to leave everyone with today is this. Reflecting on your life right now, what's one boundary, maybe one you haven't even thought of in these terms before, that might need some reevaluation or adjustment, not just for your own comfort, but for the long-term health of the relationships you value most?